Hey, honey, take a look over there. Is that? No, it couldn't be.
I don't know. Let's ask. Excuse me, are you Adam Graham?
The very same. And this is my old-time radio snack wagon.
Welcome to the Old Time Radio Snack Wagon, where we serve up a bite-sized portion of old-time radio. And now, here's your Snack Wagon host, Adam Graham.
Welcome to the old-time radio snack wagon, and this week's snack comes courtesy of the American Red Cross. While they are still a very powerful presence in American philanthropy, they were even more prominent in the period of the golden age of radio. The most discussed charities in the golden age of radio had to be the USO, the Red Feather / Community Chest campaign, which is the predecessor of the United Way, the Salvation Army, and the Red Cross. The Red Cross had a presence in America's golden age of radio that was a bit different than many other charitable organizations. It didn't just try to raise funds, even indirectly. There was plenty of that. However, there were radio programs that emphasized the role of the Red Cross in such areas as disaster relief, to show the many millions of Americans who contributed to it how their money was used. However, it also wanted people to be aware of the programs that they offered, while also still fulfilling that purpose of giving donors an idea of where their money went. As such, they produced this neat little series called You Were There. Now, it's possible that its name was a play on the great CBS historical series You Are There, which imagined historical events broadcast by then modern broadcasters for CBS News. But the intent is different. It shows situations and how the Red Cross and its programs and volunteers stepped in to help. So let's take a listen from October 10th, 1954. Here's today's episode, Bartholomew Was a Man.
You were there. This is the story, Bartholomew Was a Man, starring Byron, Kane, and June Foray. A story about you, for you were there.
Bartholomew was a man of definite ideas.
I do not favor the increased domestic role of the American husband. I, for one, do not intend to wash dishes, clean house, or prepare breakfast for my wife. I love you, Alma. If you marry me, I will be your protector, your provider, your companion, but not your servant. Knowing this, Alma, will you have me?
I had him. Is that you, darling?
Yes, it is I. Good evening, dear.
Good evening, Bartholomew. You're early.
It's 5:45. I'm in the habit of leaving the office promptly at 5 o'clock. It takes me 45 minutes to reach my home from the office. It would appear that I've arrived at my usual time.
Yes, I suppose you're right, Bartholomew. You usually are. I guess I thought you were early because I'm late.
Late?
Dinner will not be ready at 6.
Indeed.
I was delayed at the doctor's office.
Indeed?
Bartholomew, you are to be a father.
Indeed. And when will dinner be ready?
Bartholomew was a man of few words in the face of deep feelings. We had a quiet dinner, and later we sat quietly in the living room. Then...
It's 10:30, time for bed.
You go ahead, dear. I think I'll stay up for a little while.
Very well, dear. Alma.
Yes, Bartholomew?
Alma,
Yes?
I would like to tell you that
Yes, dear.
tonight's dinner was extremely fine. Good night.
Bartholomew was a man of action and very solicitous of my well-being.
This business of odd cravings for odd food at odd hours has no basis in medical fact.
I know, dear, but I want something. And if I don't get what I want, I can't fall asleep. And if I'm awake, you won't be able to sleep. And
Very well. What is it you want?
pizza.
Pizza? At 3 in the morning?
Ridiculous, isn't it? But that's what I have a craving for. I'm just dying to bite into a crisp, hot piece of pizza. Where are you going?
I am going to get dressed and attempt to find a place that will make a pizza for me at this time of the morning.
Oh, you're just too good to me, Bartholomew. You're just so wonderful and kind and generous and loving, and you won't be able to get any pizza now.
I won't?
Of course not, silly. It's much too late.
It is?
Of course it is, darling. You don't think that I'd send you out at 3 in the morning to find a place that sells pizza, do you?
Well, in that case, I can go back to bed.
Oh, no. I wouldn't do a thing like that, no matter how I felt. So, look, you just run down to that all-night restaurant and get me a hot dog sandwich with plenty of mustard and onions and a dill pickle, plus some fresh French fried potatoes and... Bartholomew was a man of determination, but not dogmatic. That is to say, he could be made to see the light and react accordingly.
And why won't you have dessert?
Because when I look at it, I see 600 calories, and that is 600 more than I care to have.
Vanity, thy name is woman.
I am not watching my weight because of vanity.
Is that so?
Yes, it is so. My doctor advised me to stay within a certain weight limit because of the health factors involved, and if you are interested, I can explain in detail just why it is important that I do not gain too much weight before the baby is born, and
All right, come. There's only one way to find out.
Oh, but, darling, this is such a
Nothing is little about you at this time.
Why, Bartholomew.
Oh, the reference is only toward those things affecting your health and welfare. Now stand up here.
Very well, if you insist. Are you certain it's correct?
I had it tested myself only a few days ago. It's completely accurate.
Well, if you say so.
I say so. Now stand up here.
Okay. All right. What does it say?
Well, if you'd stop fidgeting, perhaps I could read it. Thank you. Now, let's see. Well, you've come in just under the wire.
Oh, wonderful.
The doctor allotted you a gain of 2 pounds this month, and you've only gained 1 pound and 13 ounces. You've 3 ounces to spare.
Now, may I have that chocolate bar? Bartholomew was a man of taste, but he could temper his taste with tact.
Good evening, darling. How are you this evening?
Awful. It was just one of those days.
There, Alma. I had a rather trying day myself. So you tell me your troubles, and I'll tell you mine, and we'll both feel better. Catharsis is good for the soul.
Well, it all started the minute you left for the office.
Darling, don't you think the narrative might go better with dinner? I had a miserable lunch.
Let's eat out tonight.
Well, didn't you prepare dinner?
Yes, but let's eat out anyway.
Alma, that would be an awful waste of food, wouldn't it? And besides, there isn't a restaurant anywhere that could prepare food the way I've taught you to do. What's that peculiar odor?
Your dinner.
Oh.
I tried that new recipe you gave me, and things were so confused today that I didn't have time to shop for some of the ingredients, so I used my imagination and threw in substitutions.
Oh.
It tastes much better than it smells.
Darling, I think we can afford to be extravagant once in a while, especially when it's done to improve your morale. Let's go out for dinner.
Bartholomew was a man of consideration and kindness.
You ready, dear?
Almost.
Well, if you don't hurry, we'll arrive at the movie well after the feature has begun. And you know how I hate to come in the middle of a picture.
Well, I'm dressing as fast as I can. I'll be able to dress much more rapidly if you'd bought me that full-length mirror you promised me. It's extremely frustrating to be only able to see half of me. There now, how do I look?
You look lovely, as usual.
Honestly?
Have I ever been anything but honest with you?
Well, don't I look the least bit funny to you? I mean the way I must bulge out all over the place.
You do not look the least bit funny to me. You look lovely. Believe me.
I believe you. But I like to see for myself. Would you please get me a full-length mirror?
Yes, I will.
When?
Soon.
Well, we went to the movie. As we came out, I excused myself to go to the restroom. And when I came back to the lobby, I was almost hysterical. Oh!
Alma! Alma, what is it? What happened?
I finally saw myself.
You did what?
I know why you wouldn't buy me a mirror. Oh, darling, what a sweet and wonderful liar you
Alma,
are.
please get hold of yourself. Now tell me what happened, and do it calmly.
Well, they have a large mirror in the restroom, and I really saw myself from all angles. Oh, Bartholomew, I look so utterly ridiculous.
Now stop it.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be such a fool.
You are a fool. You miss seeing yourself from the most important angle of all.
What was that?
From my angle. You're lovely. Now, shall we go home?
Bartholomew was a man of... Oh, no more. I think at this point you know enough about the kind of a man he is. I'm sorry I kept you waiting.
Oh, don't be sorry. I rather enjoyed sitting on the bench and relaxing. Something I should do more often. What did the doctor say?
Oh, I'm as healthy as a horse and just as strong. And, he suggested I attend a class.
Indeed?
Mm-hmm. It's a course on mother and baby care. Tells you all about how to take care of yourself and how to take care of the baby after it's born.
Well, it sounds very worthwhile.
It'll just be a few nights a week for a couple of weeks.
How much is the fee?
Oh, there isn't any charge. It's sponsored by the Red Cross and taught by a registered nurse.
Well, I think you should certainly attend, then. It'll do you a great deal of good.
The doctor thinks it'll do you good, too.
I beg your pardon?
He suggests that you attend along with me.
Whatever on earth for?
Well, dear, you're the father.
I most certainly am, and that is exactly the reason I would not attend any such class.
What do you mean?
I have no intention of attempting to become a mother also.
I could have used tears, but I preferred logic. Now you're getting emotional, Bartholomew.
What? Me? Emotional? Why,
You attempt to end all our discussions on this subject with a loud and long harangue about the sacred rights of the American male.
I am only stating facts.
Well, then listen to some of these facts. In a year when more than 3.5 million babies were born in this country, over 800,000 were born at home, where the entire care of mother and child fell upon the same family member. Now, what help could you be?
If you assume that you'd be one of the 800,000, I can just as logically assume that you would not. And our child would be born in the hospital where it rightly belongs.
Is that so? Well, it is a fact that overcrowded hospitals also sent mothers and new babies home as soon as possible. And they, too, became a responsibility of the home.
That being the case, we can afford to have a practical nurse come in and help.
Yes, but at $10 a day, how many days could we afford? Besides, the modern concept of child care is that if both mother and father share the care, the child is more secure.
There are some virtues, then, in being old-fashioned.
Then I suppose you didn't mean what you said when you lectured to me about being prepared. You know, the importance of civil defense in these modern times.
And what has that to do with the topic under discussion?
Well, in case of an emergency, doctors and nurses will be drawn from community practice to defense service, and those who remain will be greatly overburdened with work. And the more knowledge we have about how to care for our baby and ourselves, the more time we can save the doctors for more important cases. And then...
When does the class begin?
He couldn't admit to his friends that he was attending a mother and baby care class as a result of my instigation, so...
No, Robert, I'll not be able to play cards with the boys tomorrow. Well, Alma and I are attending a class on mother and baby care. Well, no, of course not. It was my own idea. Well, I feel this way about it. When a fellow is ready to buy an automobile, he first learns to drive so that he'll not immediately wreck the car. Well, it applies to babies as well. When people are going to have a child, they should also have some idea of how to care for the child. Certainly it's logical. If it weren't, I wouldn't be advocating it.
So, we went to class. And after the first few sessions, we got to know the other couples.
Well, I must admit, Mr. Rennie, I hardly expected to find such a range of professional men here. 2 attorneys, an economist, a business analyst.
And there's a grocer and a truck driver, a mechanic, and an army sergeant.
Which merely proves, as I've always contended, that a good idea has universal appeal.
Well, we finished the course and received our certificates. And so we were all prepared for what naturally followed.
How do you feel, darling?
Baby,
He's all right.
he has 5 fingers on the chin. 5 toes on each foot.
And 2 eyes and 1 nose and 1 mouth. Darling, he's a normal, healthy baby with only one problem.
What is it?
Doctor says he looks like me.
Oh, it's wonderful to be a mother and to be back in my own home with a darling little baby boy. He's really the best.
It's all right, darling. He wasn't quite sure he wanted his bath. But I convinced him he had nothing to worry about, that he was in the hands of an expert.
And how did you do that?
I showed him my graduation certificate from the mother and baby care class.
Thank you, Byron Kane and June Foray, for a splendid performance.
And thank you, Jimmy Wallington. In this day of modern life, servants are hard to come by, and sometimes beyond the means of young parents. Young fathers are more than willing to help out with the baby at night, but the changing of a youngster can prove a major enterprise. Many a man has worked with his squirming infant and come up with a diaper drape that lists more than a bit to starboard. But for the fellow who's taken time to learn the know-how of servicing Junior, changing, bathing, and feeding the son and heir is a simple and delightful task.
A great contribution in the field of family preparedness is made by the American Red Cross through its mother and baby care courses. It is a contribution which you make, for you are the Red Cross. And at these thousands of classes being held all over the country, you, too, were there.
This is another in the transcribed series, You Were There. Our story was based on facts from the Red Cross files and was written by Marvin Robertson. It was produced and directed by Louis Graff. Sound effects by Lloyd Creekmore, our engineer, Bill Amadon. Original music was composed and played by Irma Glenn. This is Jimmy Wallington speaking.
Welcome back. A really fun episode. Byron Kane and June Foray, a.k.a. Rocky the Flying Squirrel, are great in what's essentially a two-hander. It's tough to do a great PSA that's entertaining, particularly when you're limited to 15 minutes, and you can find examples of a lot of bad ones. But this one works because of its lightness of touch, particularly when dealing with what was a sensitive issue. To borrow a modern phrase, their aim was not to shame the Bartholomews in the audience, rather to gently nudge them into reconsidering some stereotypes and prejudices they had, and hopefully get them to consider the important services that the Red Cross offered. And this was so good because in the course of the story, Bartholomew undergoes some changes in character, and reality challenges some of his notions. And that's just kind of what happens with being married and having kids. And it can happen both ways. For example, my wife and I imagined some aspects of childcare would be evenly split, but that ended up not making sense. You can have all sorts of ideas about the way things are going to work, or the way they ought to work. But like Bartholomew, you'll find that actual human beings involved will require those ideas to change to meet everyone's needs. It's time for me to close up the old snack wagon. But don't worry, we'll be back with another serving of old-time radio goodness before you know it. If you want to enjoy some of our longer-form podcasts, you can feast away at my website at greatdetectives.net. Your emails are also welcome at adam@snackwagon.net.
The Old Time Radio Snack Wagon comes to you from Boise, Idaho. Your host is Adam Graham. Sound production is by Rhines Media, LLC. You can listen to past episodes of the Old Time Radio Snack Wagon as well as connect on social media at our website at snackwagon.net. Email suggestions for episodes to adam@snackwagon.net. This has been the Old Time Radio Snack Wagon.
Until next time, goodbye.